I still remember the air that day, thick with July heat and the smell of sunburnt asphalt. The kind of day where the sunlight doesn't just warm your skin, it clings to it, makes you feel heavy. I'd taken the week off work, rented a little farmhouse outside Delta, Ohio to get away from everything. Clear my head. I needed quiet, no screens. Just cornfields and silence. But silence has a way of sharpening sounds you'd normally ignore. I'd only been there 2 days when I noticed her. She rode past the house around 6 p.m. every evening on a bright red bike. Always wearing headphones, always stopping for a few seconds at the bend in the road where the corn started to grow higher than a man's head. I assumed she was just catching her breath. Thought nothing of it until the third night. That time she didn't ride past. I waited by the screen door longer than I'd like to admit, eyes fixed on that same bend. Nothing. Just the whisper of corn husks swaying. Around 8 p.m., I finally stepped outside, telling myself I was just being neighborly, just curious. But that was a lie. Something felt wrong, like the road itself was holding its breath. The next morning, I drove to the gas station a mile up the road, the only sign of life within walking distance. Figured I'd grab coffee, maybe ask if anyone had seen her. The old man behind the counter barely looked up when I asked about the girl on the red bike. She was here yesterday, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. Bought a bottle of water, same as always. Security footages got her leaving around 6:15. After that, he trailed off. After that, she was gone. I spent the rest of the day pacing the property, looking toward the cornfield more than I should have. By sunset, I couldn't shake the image of her stopping at that bend, pausing before the wall of green swallowed her up. And that night, I couldn't sleep. Around 2:47 a.m., I remember the time exactly, I woke to a sound that didn't belong. A soft knock. Not on the front door, on the window. I froze, the sheets damp with sweat. My mind scrambled for logic. Wind, a branch, an animal. Then came the second knock. More insistent. I slid out of bed and crept toward the window, heart pounding. The glass was fogged from the inside, my breath hitching in my throat. Slowly, I wiped it with my palm. No one was there, but on the other side of the glass, smeared in something dark and thick, was a single word: run. And just before I turned away, out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement. Something shifting in the corn. Something watching. It blinked, and it didn't have eyes. The Vanishing Jogger Part 2, the screaming stalks. I didn't sleep after that. I didn't even blink. I sat in the living room, lights off, baseball bat in hand, staring at the window like it might blink again. I kept replaying that single word, run, over and over in my head. Someone had written it. Someone had been close enough to touch the glass. But when I stepped outside minutes later, flashlight sweeping the yard, nothing was there. Not a single footprint in the dirt beneath the window. Just rows of silent swaying corn. By morning, the message was gone. Wiped clean. I tried to convince myself I'd dreamed it. That some sleep-deprived part of my brain conjured the whole thing. But when I went back to the gas station to grab coffee and ask more questions, something changed. Her missing poster was already taped to the front door. The girl on the red bike had a name now, Sierah, 20 years old. Last seen right there outside the store. Same time I'd seen her stop by that bend. The time I should have said something. The police were involved now. Helicopters buzzing overhead. Dogs barking in the distance. They searched the cornfield for 2 straight days. I watched from the porch as they disappeared into that sea of green, their orange vests vanishing like dying embers. But they found nothing. Then came the third night. At 3:11 a.m., I woke to the sound of screaming. Not a coyote. Not a fox. A human scream. Raw. Guttural. Like something was being torn apart just beyond the field's edge. I grabbed my phone, started recording before I even reached the porch. The scream cut out as fast as it started. The silence afterward was worse. When I played the video back the next morning, my blood ran cold. I could hear the scream, yes, but beneath it, just faintly, there was another sound. Something layered in the background, like a voice on top of the voice. Whispering. I sent the clip to a friend back home, someone who did audio engineering for documentaries. She called me immediately after listening to it. Who is that behind you? No one, I said. I was alone. There was silence on her end, then, play it backward, I did. The whispering flipped into a voice, low and gravelly, and this time the message was clear. She's not the first. I don't know what possessed me to do it, but I walked into the cornfield that evening. I followed the path she always took, the bend in the road where her tires used to slow. I pushed past the first wall of stalks, feeling them close around me like hands, brushing my arms, my face. The deeper I went, the colder it got, like the sun didn't dare reach that far in. Then I saw it. A shoe, half buried in the dirt. Small white, the kind runners wear? dried blood along the side. I reached down to grab it. That's when I heard footsteps behind me dot fast, crunching, getting closer. I turned, heart slamming in my chest. No one was there, but the corn had parted, and something had just gone back in. I bolted, didn't care which direction. Just ran, tripping over stalks, slicing my arms on dry leaves, heart jackhammering in my chest. I burst out of the field somewhere near the back of the property, covered in sweat and dirt, clutching that blood-stained shoe like it was a holy relic. I should have left then. Should have packed up and driven straight back to the city without looking in the rearview mirror. But I didn't. Because I knew, deep in my gut, that something wasn't done with me that night. I put the shoe on the kitchen table and stared at it for hours. I kept thinking about what that reversed voice had said. She's not the first. I couldn't stop imagining who else had vanished into those fields. Who else no one noticed. Around midnight, I got a text from my friend who analyzed the audio. I hadn't told her everything, just enough to keep her interested, not enough to sound insane. The message was short. You didn't record that alone. I checked the sound levels. There's something else on that file, standing next to you. I didn't respond. I couldn't. My phone slipped from my hand, screen cracking on the hardwood. At that same moment, the house groaned, the deep guttural sound of old wood shifting. But it felt wrong, like something massive had moved just beneath the floorboards. I grabbed my bat and flashlight and forced myself to check every room, each closet, the basement, all empty. But when I came back upstairs, the shoe was gone. In its place was something else. A finger, small and pale, tipped with cracked red polish, resting in a pool of dark, congealed blood. Something was etched into the wood beneath it, carved rough and frantic. Stop digging! My breath caught in my throat. The blood hadn't just soaked the table. It had dripped onto the floor, a sticky trail leading to the back door. I followed it. Out the door. Down the steps. Into the backyard? The blood led me straight back to the edge of the corn. The stalks swayed, but there was no wind. I should have gone back inside. But the trail was still fresh, and that's when I heard it. Metal, dragging across metal. Like chains or a shovel scraping against stone. Deeper in the corn, hidden somewhere in the rows. And then, rising above it all, a sound that turned my bones to ice. A girl's voice whispering my name. Not screaming. Not crying. Whispering. Soft. Familiar? Come see. I stepped into the field again. 1 foot in, then the other. The stalks sealed shut behind me, and the flashlight flickered once, then died. Pitch black. The kind of dark that feels alive, like it's breathing just behind your neck, waiting for you to blink. I stood frozen, surrounded by the rustle of corn, listening. My heart pounded so loud I couldn't tell if the sounds around me were real or just echoes inside my skull. Then a light. Faint, flickering. Not mine. It blinked once. Then again. Farther down the row, like someone holding a lantern deep inside the maze. So I followed. The voice had stopped, but something else had replaced it. A low humming, like an old lullaby sung through broken teeth. It came from everywhere and nowhere at once. My feet crunched over the dry earth, kicking up dust that choked my lungs. I moved slowly, ducking beneath leaves that felt too rough, too sharp, like the field wanted to cut me for daring to enter. Then the humming stopped. So did the light. I turned in a slow circle, panic setting in. I was surrounded by corn in all directions. No landmarks, no trail, no way out, but something was in front of me, a shape. A door, half buried in the dirt, wood rotted and splintered, the kind of thing you'd find in a nightmare, or a cellar built for hiding sins. There were handprints on it, bloody, small. And below the handle, carved deep into the grain, were 5 letters, S-I-E-R-A-H. My throat tightened. My instinct screamed to run. But my hand reached out anyway. The second my fingers touched the handle, the door jerked open. Not outward, but inward, pulled from the other side. I stumbled back, heart slamming, flashlight long dead in my pocket. From the hole below came the unmistakable stench of rot and earth. And in the darkness, just barely lit by some unseen glow, I saw them. Bones, piled in the corners. Some long, some child-sized. And in the center, chained to the dirt wall by her wrists, was a woman. Still breathing, barely. Her eyes fluttered open. She looked at me, and smiled. But it wasn't right. Something in that expression wasn't human. Her lips parted, and what came out wasn't words. It was a sound, high-pitched, layered, like 1,000 voices screaming at once from inside her throat. My vision blurred. My ears rang. I staggered backward. Then hands, cold, bony hands, shot out from the earth behind me, gripping my legs. I fell. Felt something yank me toward the hole. And just before I lost consciousness, I saw movement in the corn behind me. A figure, tall and thin, wrapped in something that looked like skin but moved like cloth. Its face was wrong, stretched empty where the eyes should have been, and in its hand it held a red bike helmet. When I came to, I wasn't in the field anymore. I was inside the house, laid out on the living room floor. Alone. No blood. No dirt. No sign of the finger or the shoe or the trail that led me into the corn. The table was clean. The windows were shut. Morning light spilled in like nothing had ever happened. But I knew it had. I scrambled to my feet, every muscle aching, and staggered to the bathroom mirror. My face was pale, streaked with sweat and grime, but something else caught my eye. Bruises. Around both ankles. Like someone or something had dragged me. I checked my phone. Dead. Fried. Wouldn't turn on. I tried the landline. No dial tone. I was cut off. Outside, the corn stood taller than ever. Still. Watching. I could see the spot where I'd entered. Could feel the shape of the hole under the ground. The door. The woman. The thing. And yet, when I went back, it was gone. No door. No trail. Just a smooth sea of green. I went back to the gas station, desperate for answers. The old man behind the counter looked up at me, his face unreadable. I asked him about the girl. Sierra. The police. The search. He said nothing, just slid a faded newspaper across the counter. I stared at the headline. Local girl vanishes, no leads in case of Sierah J. The date on the paper? July 22nd, 1993. I felt the blood drain from my face. That wasn't right. Sierra had just disappeared days ago. I saw her with my own eyes. This is wrong, I said. She was here last week. I saw her. She stopped by that bend. She always does, the old man muttered, not looking at me. Same time, same route, every July. What are you talking about? He leaned in, voice low. They don't die in the field. They're taken. Something feeds off them, and every year around this time it brings one back. Just long enough to find the next one. I couldn't breathe. You're saying she wasn't real? She was, he whispered. Until she wasn't, I left the station in a haze. Drove back to the farmhouse numb. I didn't sleep. I just sat on the porch watching the corn sway under the stars. At 6:13 p.m. I heard it. The familiar hum of tires on gravel. And there she was, Sierra, pedaling past on the red bike. Same clothes, same headphones. She stopped at the bend, turned her head slowly toward me, and smiled. But this time I could see her eyes. They weren't hers. They were glassy, hollow, like something was inside her, wearing her like a mask. And then from behind her, another figure stepped out of the corn. Tall, pale, limbs too long. It reached out and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. She didn't flinch. And both of them together looked at me. Then the thing held up my phone. Unlocked. Recording. My voice played from it, warped and distorted. Come see, I ran. Not into the house, not for a weapon, none of that would matter. I ran to the only place left I hadn't gone, the barn behind the property. It had been locked since I arrived, rusted shut and overgrown with weeds. Something told me that if there were answers, they were behind that door. The padlock snapped open with a sick crunch when I slammed it with a brick. The door groaned open. And the smell hit me first, sweet rot, thick like syrup. Flies buzzed in black clouds, disturbed for the first time in God knows how long. Inside, it was dim and cluttered. Old tools, animal cages, chains. A shovel coated in something black, but at the very back, there was a hole. Not dug, collapsed. A sinkhole into the earth. Bones spilled out of it like water. Skulls. Ribs. A human hand still clutching a plastic student ID. I didn't want to look, but I had to. Sierra's photo. Same face. Same headphones. But the card was from 1991, and then I heard it again. That hum. That horrible lullaby coming from the hole in the ground. I turned and she was standing there. Sierra. Just her. Not the thing. Not the tall figure. Just the girl on the bike, covered in dirt, skin gray and cracked like porcelain left too long in the sun. Help me, she whispered. But her voice cracked halfway through. Not like she was crying. Like something was wearing out. And then she shattered. Her body split down the middle, like dry bark peeling from a tree, and something stepped out of her skin. It looked like a man at first, but only in the way a scarecrow looks like a person from far away. Its face was too smooth, lips stitched shut, eyes wide and unblinking. It dragged Sierra's skin behind it like a child's costume. I backed away. I raised my hands. Why me? Why show me this? It cocked its head, curious. Then it spoke, not aloud but inside my skull. Because you're the first to listen. Suddenly, the sinkhole began to tremble. The bones shifted. From below, I heard voices. Countless voices. screaming, begging. Then something rose from the pit. Not bodies, not souls, memories. All the victims, flashes of them, riding bikes, jogging, walking home from school. Each moment looped, played again and again like film stuck in a projector. Trapped just before they disappeared. I understood then. This thing wasn't just killing them. It was keeping them. Feeding on the last seconds of their lives. Reliving their final moments like a hunter savoring the kill. It had no name. No origin. Just a hunger for ritual. And I was its witness. Its next archivist. The barn door slammed shut behind me, and the thing pointed at the floor. There beneath my feet was a journal. Leather-bound. Blank. Except for one sentence, already written in shaky, blood-red ink. Record the next. My phone vibrated in my pocket. It was on again. The screen lit up. New message, unknown attached, a photo. A girl. Early 20s. Ponytail. Headphones? Red tank top. Jogging near a gas station. The timestamp? Tomorrow, 6:12 p.m., it was starting again. And suddenly I knew my place. Not the killer. Not the monster. The observer. The scribe. That's why it scared me, not because I was innocent. But because it needed someone to remember. And so I write, because if I stop, I become one of them. The end